Hello everyone! Welcome back to another 1v1 battle. I am playing as the dwarves versus the greenskins. The reason why you see this formation here is because right before, like literally right before the battle started, I hit my right mouse button with my entire group selected, and for some reason it went from a two-tiered formation to just a giant long line. And then the battle started immediately after that, and I'm like, oh, that's great. Well, let's move into a formation, guys. But anyway, my formation here, or the army setup, is Belegar Ironhammer. I am bringing him in a couple matches that I think I'm going to be showing this week, because I never use him, so I really wanted to just kind of devote some time to give to good old Belegar here. He has the two runesmiths. We have a dwarf warrior with great weapons, the Ekron's miners. The idea about this was going to be Belegar's renowned units, or units of renown, because I brought a lot of units of renown just to try and test out a very small elite army that's going to be very condensely focused, like in a very tight formation, and basically just see if they can hold. That's honestly the idea about around this. So yeah, dwarf warriors, we have the Ekron miners, we have a longbeard with great weapons, we have the grumbling guard, the dragonback slayers, the Nor Grimling's iron breakers, and then the peak gate guard. And again, the idea, the formation, is supposed to be about like this, about that big. Two-tier formation, heroes in the middle, and just continually stacking defensive buffs from Belegar and the two runesmiths, and see if we can last with the support of the grumbling guard. It's the idea. So I'm trying to get back into that formation currently. My enemy's army here, we have, I believe, 4 black orcs mixed in with orc boys. We have an orc shaman, nasty skulker, 2 goblin big bosses with their forest mounts, or sorry, spider mounts. We have a orc war boss on a flying mount, which I never really see, but it makes sense. It's a pretty safe pick against the dwarves. Also off in the corners of the map here, my opponent brought 2 squig herds each in the corner, and then also a wolf rider. So yeah, I'm still trying to just get into my initial formation, which is supposed to be 2 rows deep. We have the Nor Grimlings in the middle, flanked by Longbeards, and then the Dwarf Warriors with great weapons. The back line is going to be the Grumbling Guard, the Peak Gate Guard, and the Ekron Miners, and then we have the Slayers behind them, and then the 3 heroes are supposed to be sitting in here. But again, our formation was not really quite there at the very beginning of the battle, so that kind of sucks. But hey, you know, what are you going to do? Also, 4 squig herds is a lot of squig herds. I'll just say it's a lot of squig herds. Alright, so the Orc War Boss comes down in here, so I'm going to try and charge him with the Dragonback Slayers to try and pin him down as much as we can. If we can snag the Orc War Boss in the very beginning, it will be a huge victory for us, but they actually kind of already make it out of our formation. And they do also mess up my Nor Grimling's Ironbreaker formation, so now they're facing this way, when they're supposed to be facing out this way. So that was really crappy for me, because now they're going to get charged in the back by Black Orcs and these Orc boys. And getting charged in the back has some penalties, you could say. So that's not good. But anyway, we are getting into a full combat here, which is just thrown into all types of disarray. Because again, my people were still moving into position, but my poor Ekron miners are going to get flanked by these 2 squig herds. They almost die immediately to the 2 squig herds. Belegar is going to reinforce this, I guess, right flank, if you want to call this bundle of dwarves a flank. We get the Ingenuices cast on us. I am staggering my buffs from the runesmiths. My dwarf, or my longbeards over here are out on the flanks kind of on their own. And then here come the other 2 squig herds coming into the fight to get into the backs of our Dragonback Slayers and our Grumbling Guard. So this wasn't exactly a perfect start to the battle for me, because my formation was all whacked up. But we accept this fight. We're dwarves. We're sturdy. We can handle it. So then we were going to get surrounded by a bunch of different groups of Black Orcs, but this is the idea. We're supposed to get surrounded. Not exactly in this kind of formation, but this is the idea. I wanted to see if they can just endure a complete surroundment and just rely on the Runesmith and Belegar's defensive buffs, along with their just elite status as soldiers, to see if they can win through this battle. So right now, Belegar is deep in here trying to fight against a Goblin War Boss. He can do pretty well against Goblin War Bosses, especially when backed up by the Peak Gate Guard, so he is doing a lot of damage to that Goblin War Boss. And then I believe I'm going to send him across this huge battlefield right here to try and deal with this Goblin Big Boss. Meanwhile, in the back, my Runesmith is holding off some Black Orcs by himself. Not exactly the best, so I'm going to, throughout the battle, try and give him attack orders to squig herds over here to just try and get them to move their own soldiers, because they do not want them dying. I need the Runesmiths alive. And throughout this entire battle, I'm casting both of their Runes of Wrath and Ruin on the Black Orcs to try and weaken them by dealing damage to them. So whenever you see like a little aura above the Black Orcs, I think it's like a very kind of like darker aura above them. That's usually when my Wrath and Ruin is on them. You see, we are routing the remaining squid curds here, but they will come back. We have not yet finished them. We're getting itch nuisance on us again as the Orc War boss is going to come down into this massive melee. And there's just a lot of just stuff, man. There's just dwarves tightly packed, back to back. But the runesmiths are trying to keep them alive with their defensive buffs. Meanwhile, the Northrippling's Ironbreakers are just kind of stretched in a line through here. Again, it was a good move to charge them and disorganize their formation by the Orc War boss there in the very beginning. Because now they're kind of surrounded on 3 sides instead of just like 1. Because the idea was supposed to be a circle. So they're kind of out on their own. They're still holding off some Orc boys by themselves. Meanwhile, we're still just casting defensive buffs. Listen, like, it's hard to see what the hell's going on. Let's just get in here closer. So you can see all of the dwarves stacked onto each other. Fighting back to back, trying to fend off the squidkers, the black orcs. Belegar's in here somewhere. Runesmith still doing defensive buffs. There's Belegar right there. You can see his standard. Goblin War Boss is back, so we have Belegar on the job trying to kill this Goblin War Boss. He is going to get poisoned, but I believe in Belegar. And you should too. You can see the noose is getting a little tighter, just a little tighter. But our units have such high morale that they are holding on to the very bitter end. And also the help of the 2 runesmiths cycling their 2 defensive buffs each really helps out the situation. And the Rune of Wrath and Ruin has actually done a lot of damage. I was targeting these 2 black orcs. You can see it. They've mostly just been hurt by the Rune of Wrath and Ruin. So it does do a lot of damage as the battle wears on. Because dwarves, the thing is about them is they're supposed to hold on. They're supposed to outlast their opponents. And the Rune helps them. The Grumly Guard helps them in that situation. So yeah. That's the whole goal of them, at least in this battle it is. The way I usually enjoy bringing dwarves is in a much larger number. I like to spam out a couple miners to kind of buff up their numbers and, you know, use maybe an artillery piece, maybe a ranger here and there. This is different for me. You can see again the numbers are dwindling. Our runesmith's still alive. Belegar is barely touched, honestly. And but the thing is, the Dragback Slayers, the PK Guard, the Grumbly Guard, everybody is just taking a lot of damage at this point. But we've also managed to rout like Nasty Stalkers, all the Squidkers, the 2 Goblin Big Bosses, we routed both. They came back with the potions. This guy came back with the potion, we routed them again. We're routing this group of Black Orcs. We've done so much damage to these Black Orcs. And to this one. And again, Belegar is still doing pretty well against Black Orcs over here. But eventually, the Dwarven numbers will crumble. The Runesmiths will finally eventually break. There's another Rune of Wrath and Ruin right there. It's doing so much damage. And then Belegar is left on his own. And that is going to be the battle. No Kazuhit Ha today, friends. So the small elite army, I think honestly it could work. If our formation wasn't really screwy, we may still have lost. But considering the amount of black orcs, and especially the squid herds, that were fighting against us, and how our Ekron miners were just torn to pieces by those squid herds really quickly, maybe if you substitute them out and get, I don't know, something else, Longbeards, hell, something like that, maybe it can work. Honestly, I'm surprised it did this good, because we were surrounded the entire time. But we still managed to do quite a lot of damage. But good game to my opponent, Tweak here. The kills at the end, I mean, look how small that army is. I would usually, like, it was hard for me to bring this army. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was sitting there at the army creation screen, in the custom game screen. I'm like, I can't, like, this isn't gonna work. But like, fuck it, you know, let's just try it. So we tried it. It didn't work this time, but honestly, we did enough damage here that I think it does have the potential to work if you substitute out the Dwarf Warriors, because they're just way too weak. I brought them in there to try and do some more damage to the Black Orcs, but they're just too weak. The Ekron Miners got sideswiped by those Quick Herds, so they got chewed to pieces within seconds, so that it probably substitute them out as well. The rest of the army may be solid. The thing is here, the Dragonback Slayers didn't have too much to really kill in terms of large creatures, but they still netted 68 kills, probably against the Squirkers, I think is what I had them attacking. And yeah, I don't know. I'm still okay with how we did. The enemies here, 43 kills in the Orc War Boss. Didn't realize they got that many. Black Orcs did really well. Orc Boys also did pretty good. The Nasty Skulkers 17. The Squidkers also did really well, especially considering how many troops we had here. But I'm going to be trying out the Belegar kind of smaller army size again later on. And I guess we can do a cinematic view. I mean, I kind of already did it, but we can, I guess, do it again because it's a short video. Also, what I can show is just Belegar stats. This is another build I haven't actually tested this build yet. This is maybe too small. Like, of course, you have a very elite hero core, but only 4 units, man. Maybe I'll do this. I haven't done this yet. Maybe. Probably not. Anyway, for Belegar here, just a super solid dwarf, very high hit points, charge defense against all, the 120 armor with the better shield type, leadership of 85, which is great, the melee attack of 60, which is huge, melee defense of 50, which is huge, weapon strength 450, which of course you would want more armor piercing in a combat lord, but that's still great. Also with the buffs, as I showed in my overview of the King and the Warlord DLC, Belegar can go toe-to-toe with nearly any lord with the buffs. If you have Revenge Incarnate on, and then you also can proc the Deadly Onslaught, like in that video, I showed him 1v1ing Grimgor, and he won clean. Like, he only had maybe 20% damage taken against Grimgor 1v1. But again, I did more tests, and Grimgor can't do enough damage. But in most cases, Belegar was able to do 1v1s and win with his buff specifically. So he's still a very, very powerful lord. And also what makes him pretty strong, too, is that the Hammer of Angrand here, it gives him even more melee attack, 18% weapon damage on top of that 450, and then also immune psychology, which is also a huge thing, as long as leadership is above 50%. So he's a very strong melee combatant. And again, I don't know. I'll do another variation of this build. I doubt I'm going to do this one. I need more units. I'll probably throw in a couple miners in there and get rid of like a ethereal lord or something. But anyway, let's just watch a cinematic view, and that's it. Yeah, let's watch a cinematic view. Man, my Nora Grimling realigning themselves so that the backs are facing the oncoming charge. Not a good idea. Not a good idea. Dragon Fire Pass. I would probably redo this, get rid of the Ekron Miners and do Warriors Dragon Fire Pass. Team them up with the Dragonback Slayers, maybe. I don't know. It just kind of hit me. I'm just thinking about builds as I'm watching this. Yeah, get him, Runesmith. The only Black Orcs, what can they do? Last stand of Belegar Iron Hammer. How quickly we can go from one side of the battle to the other in this one. I think right here is when I popped his one-time use Incarnate's Revenge. Something like that. So I wanted him to take out that War Boss. But it just walks off. Yeah, jump kick him. If anything, at least the battle looks cool, though. The Dowie's standing up against the tide of orcs. Nowhere to run, so they fight to the bitter end. This nasty stalker penetrating the lines. Get out of here. Silly gobbo. It's dangerous here. What are these goblins doing? Get out of here. There was definitely like a pause to how fast I was dying as the battle wore on, because that's the work of the Grumbling Guard doing their whole vigor thing. The longer the battle lasted, the weaker the enemy army got, the slower they were killing us. So I think, again, I think something like this could work, at least against maybe Greece. I don't know against Etonians or anything else. It's the only time I've tested this out, but I think in theory it could. Didn't this time. Because all your troops are remaining fresh throughout the entire fight, whereas theirs are, getting really weak. By the time they get exhausted, they have the leadership penalty. They have like 20 to 30% debuffs to most of their stats, including armor. I believe that's how intense it is when they're exhausted. So yeah, maybe minor changes here and there. The Ekron miners just didn't get to do anything. If they were actually able to throw off their satchel charges, then maybe. I don't know. I just thought it'd be cool to bring a bunch of warriors renown in this type of very small elite build. But anyway, good game against my opponent. It looked awesome watching these dwarves get murdered by all of these rampaging black orcs, orc boys, and squig herds, and the orc war boss, which again I don't usually see. But understandable pick against the dwarves, just because there's not too much that's going to threaten you in the air, unless you bring gyrocopters, which are totally okay. But again, hope you enjoyed. I'll see you all next time. Take care.